So you guys know I love bringing guests on that can just speak to things that maybe I still speak to, but that are not in my wheelhouse to dive deep into. So today, my guests are Jessica MacNaughton and Sierra Samuel, both with C60 Purple Power. Jess is the Chief Operating Officer at C60 Purple Power and the host of C60 Health Connections podcast. She earned an executive MBA with an emphasis in global business from the University of Denver and a Bachelor of Arts in Communications from the University of Denver. And for more than 20 years, she's been exploring various modalities in health, wellness, and spirituality. Her curiosity led her to Carbon 60, and she's going to tell you her story on here, which is very powerful, ladies. Miscarriages, health concerns, hair loss. Carbon 60, though, is a Nobel Prize winning molecule and a super antioxidant, and we're going to dive deep into that. So this is going to be a game changer for you, and you can probably hear the excitement in my voice. The latest introduction, the latest member of the family to the Fixer line is Metabolism Fixer. And this, oh my God, I formulated this just for all my people out there that need to lose weight, that need help in the weight loss department, that can't lose weight no matter what they do, that feel like they have a slow metabolism, and that might be thinking of trying all those peptides out there, you know, the Beverly Hills soccer mom drug of choice for weight loss peptides. Or even if you're on them already and you're like, man, these are really expensive and I'm still not losing weight, add in Metabolism Fixer. Here's what I did. I took the power of T2, which increases your basal metabolic rate while you are sitting there watching Netflix. You're burning fat while you're watching Netflix. I combined it with a very unique patented ingredient called Suppressa. Suppressa has multiple clinical trials backing its efficacy in reducing your appetite, decreasing snacking, and providing way more control over your food intake. It is amazing. We also see improved emotional well-being, just decreased food cravings all around, reduced hunger, and weight management. Add on top of that, we have green tea extract, we have purple forest purple tea extract, both of which affect the metabolism in a very positive way without the jitters of normal fat burning supplements out there from the 1980s and 90s, right? The ones that made you feel like you're having a heart attack. You will not have that in any of my supplements, Thyroid Fixer or Metabolism Fixer. But Metabolism Fixer, ooh, yeah, we kicked it up a notch. It is in powder form, so you can drink it through your day. It's going to flavor your water. We got orange crush and refreshing citrus. I love them both. It is going to keep you under control all day long. So you throw a couple scoops in your water bottle in the morning, throw a scoop or two in your water bottle throughout the day. You will have fat burning and appetite control the entire day for what? An eighth of a price of the peptides? Oh my God, you can't go wrong. So grab some Metabolism Fixer today. Please let me know how you do on it. I am super excited for you. Super excited. After taking Carbon 60 for about 12 months, Jessica noticed an increase in hair and nail growth, which this is what we want, and that her mental clarity and focus were sustainably sharper. And she noticed her body's overreaction to seasonal allergies and PMS symptoms had subsided. So many of you with Hashimoto's, you get that histamine reaction, that allergic response that intensifies. She actually noticed hers go down. Now, Sierra Samuel is a functional nutrition coach, and she is a passionate advocate for health and wellness. She is the marketing director at C60 Purple Power and serves as the co-host of the C60 show. Sierra was diagnosed with Addison's disease. This is a serious autoimmune disease that affects your adrenals. Basically, you produce no cortisol whatsoever. So we talk about cortisol on the show, how we need it. T3 needs cortisol. Cortisol needs T3. She was producing no cortisol at all. And this was at the age of 20. And then several years later, she was diagnosed with Hashimoto's. Where we see one autoimmune condition, we see more. So since taking C60 Purple Power for a little over 2 years, she's been able to lower her thyroid medication by 2/3 the amount that she was previously taking. And that's why this is really going to be interesting for you guys. Now, you know that whenever I bring someone on the show to talk about a product, and I have brought many other people on to talk about their products, I have tried it already. I have vetted it. And you'll hear me talk at the end of this podcast too, and I'll say it again at the beginning. It is vital that you purchase supplements that actually work and that come from a reputable company. And I always look for companies that are family owned and operated, very small, and that actually care about their products, and they're not putting crap ingredients in it where you're going to get crap results. That's why I wanted to bring these two ladies on. Jess is also a very good friend of mine. We talk about all things health all the time. And I want you to hear their stories, because most of the time in this space, I don't care if you're listening to me, if you're listening to whatever, Ben Greenfield, Dan Pompa, whoever, Cynthia Thurlow, we all have been through something. We have all been through pain that brought us purpose, which is why we are here helping you. So I want you to listen to both of these ladies' stories. There's things about Jess that I didn't even know that came out on this interview, and really what kind of led them down the path to fix themselves. Because ultimately, I want you to be able to take this knowledge that I give you on a weekly basis and implement things so you can be your own patient advocate and help your own body's innate intelligence, help your body to heal itself. Now, am I saying that you're not going to need thyroid medication? No. Am I saying that you're never going to need hormone replacement therapy? Absolutely not. Am I saying that you're never going to need supplements? No, because those supplements help your body heal itself. But I want you to take this in and listen to their stories, because you're going to relate. And this may be one more thing that you can add into your arsenal to take you to that next level of health. So welcome, Sierra and Jess. Thank you so much for joining us. And I know everyone listening, they're going to get so much out of this, because we're going to talk hair. We're going to talk thyroid. We're talking Hashimoto's. We're talking fatigue. We're talking all of those things, along with inflammation and what you can do about it. And you guys have your own stories too. So in addition to being experts in C60, which we will talk about more in depth, I have mentioned it ad nauseum on this podcast before, especially when it comes to hair and skin. But you guys have also had your own stories and your own struggles that you have had to work through. So welcome, both of you. And thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
Thanks to spend some time with you.
I know. I love having you guys on. So let's see. I don't know where to start. Let's start with you, Jess, because you and I have talked off camera a lot about just your own struggles, your hair, fatigue. So can you tell people really basically the journey you've been on and what led you into doing what you're doing now, helping people using C60? Just start somewhere. Give us your story.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I spent about 20 years in corporate America, and I was kind of one of those A-type drivers, always grinding. And in my 30s, I noticed things were changing with my body, but I just didn't have an awareness of what it was. And I was quite frankly just too busy to pay any attention to it. But one of my biggest challenges that you and I have talked about was that I've got this very thin baby fine hair, and I could never get it to grow. And I always had a very short bob or a short haircut. I just could not get it to grow. I also suffered with really extreme PMS symptoms, extreme fatigue, extreme pain, and also seasonal allergies. I live in Colorado, and I love to hike and bike. And several times a year, I'd be dealing with a really intense runny nose. And those things are just gross. Also, I do my regular checkups with my doctor, and he would always say, hey, everything's okay with your hormones. And he never called out that I might have a thyroid issue at all. He just said, you're in the normal range, but he would just say you're on the kind of sluggish side of the scale. Yeah. But would never say anything else. And so because I was in quote unquote normal range, I thought that was okay. And then when I started having an interest in getting pregnant, I learned then at that point, after a few miscarriages, that in fact you have to have your thyroid at a particular level, which I did not know, and my regular doctor or my OBGYN never bothered to mention to me. So at that point, I started to go on a journey to learn more about the thyroid and how to optimize it and all that kind of good stuff. And through kind of a series of events and synchronicities and connections, I met my current business partner, Ken Swartz, who's the founder and chief science officer at C60 Purple Power. And he introduced me into this really amazing molecule called carbon 60. And when I first met Ken, I was a little bit skeptical and I didn't think much of it. And quite frankly, when he first shared it with me, I didn't start taking it right away. And then when I finally got the idea to start taking it, it took me about 6 months to get in the habit of taking it regularly. Once I started taking it on a daily basis, that's when I started to notice these subtle changes. After about a year of taking it, my hair was growing like crazy. So I've recently got it cut, so it's not as long as it was. It now grows and I have to get it cut all the time, and that's a ton of fun. I also noticed that my chronic PMS symptoms started just to diminish. Like I would transition not even knowing that I was PMSing into having a period versus being knocked out. And then when I had my period, it was much less painful. So that was a really kind of a game changer for me. And then in terms of the allergies, those I would say they diminish. It's not that I don't have allergies anymore. It's just that they don't rule my life. I'm happier. I can breathe easier. I have less sinus congestion. So all those things are related to my experience with C60. So that's been kind of my high level journey. And I'll pause there because I just said a lot.
No, that's awesome. I mean, you just said everything that everyone listening goes through, where they go to their doctor, they have the symptoms, they're getting told that they're quote unquote normal or within normal limits. And then they're just left really to fend for themselves and find answers. So you did. Now, are you on thyroid medication right now or no?
I am. Yeah.
Okay.
I have only been on it I started this summer, and that was after I learned after having I had 2 miscarriages in 2020. And I went on a fertility journey, learning more about everything related to my hormones. And it blows my mind because I always thought that I was a person who was, somewhat well educated on, health and wellness. And I would do all the things that I thought I was supposed to do, but I wasn't working with specialists who were really diving into lab work and helping me understand the impact of nutrition. And so it wasn't until I went on this journey for myself and I met a fertility specialist who said, no, your thyroid has to be at a certain level in order to sustain a pregnancy. And if you don't have it at that level, it's not going to work because it impacts everything else that's going on in your body. And then I was like, really? Like, how did I miss this? And so I think a lot of women don't know it, especially women who work in corporate America, who, opt to, have families later in life. I got married in my 20s, but I knew I didn't want to have kids in my 20s. And, now I'm in my 40s, and it's a whole different game in your 40s, and it may or may not work out for me. But nonetheless, I'm really excited about the journey that I'm on now because I know so much more than I ever did before.
I'm so happy that you brought up fertility. And by the way, for anyone just listening and you can't see Jess, she looks like she's in her 20s. So
you were precious. I adore you. Thank you.
When I first met her, I'm like, well, you're like 29, right? Like, come on.
Forever.
So no, I'm so glad you brought up fertility. I'm glad you brought up the miscarriages. I'm sorry that you had them, but I know many women resonate with that right now because how many women have had multiple miscarriages and literally their doctor is just like, well, that's normal. Well, you're just getting older, and they never look deeper to see if anything is wrong. And then I've spoken about this before, but getting the thyroid under control and getting inflammation down and allowing your body to work better, that's going to benefit the baby. So if you rush into getting pregnant without getting everything in line, you are risking autism. You are risking developmental delays, and that stays with you for 40, 50 years. Yep. So why not do you now, get you in balance now, even if it takes you another 6 months to a year, because that's going to have way better outcomes for you and your baby in the long run. That's just my opinion. So I'm glad you brought that up. I'm really glad you brought that up. And Jess, we'll come back to you, Sierra. I want to hear your story as well. I know you have Hashimoto's. I know you have Addison's disease. So tell us, oh my gosh, tell us your journey because so many listeners can resonate with you as well.
Yeah, well, I was, living the standard American life, eating the standard American diet, and I was going through college and finals and a really stressful time in my life, and suddenly I couldn't hold down food, and I was losing weight drastically, and I ended up going to the hospital like 7 or 8 times until they finally figured out that I had Addison's disease. And as you know, Addison's is adrenal insufficiency. And obviously, we need cortisol to live, to metabolize food and water and minerals. You can't live without it. So it was a very scary time in my life. Ended up going in an ambulance. I'll spare you all the drama, but it was a huge shock to my whole world. And I have been on a health and wellness journey ever since. Just looking for ways I can really optimize my health. And actually, I have learned more in the last 2 years than I have this entire journey. I started looking into functional nutrition, became a certified functional nutrition counselor just this year, just a few months ago, actually. And so what I finally realized was that the doctors didn't have all the answers, that I was going to have to be my own advocate. And now I go to the doctor, whenever I go to the doctor, the endocrinologist or my general practitioner, I have a list of questions and I want to know what is happening in my body, what risks and what factors am I not knowing, am I not seeing, what lab tests do I need to take? So I've really been diving into all that. And what I've realized through this whole journey is that what we really need to get back to are the basics and treating the root causes instead of focusing on all the symptoms, because thyroid conditions are so underdiagnosed. Mm-hmm. That is a problem, because someone goes in because they have weight gain. Well, the doctor says exercise more. Is that going to help your thyroid? No. Or, someone has anxiety and depression and it might be their thyroid, but they get actually put on antidepressants. So it's just something that's hard to diagnose. And so we have to really proactively find out what's going on in our bodies with our hormones. So it's so important. But yeah, and then after I had my first child, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So I have it's called polyglandular autoimmune condition, where once you have one condition or two conditions, it becomes that much easier to get another one. Yeah. So my goal today is basically to manage things like inflammation and stress and all these factors that play such a major role in autoimmune disease.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, I always say this on here too, autoimmune begets autoimmune. Where we see one, we see more than one. But if you catch things early, and we know, with root cause medicine, with any kind of functional medicine, functional nutrition, inflammation is at the root of every single disease. We could take every disease from Alzheimer's to cancer to Hashimoto's and tie it back to inflammation in the body. And then you go one step further and you go, okay, what exactly is causing that? So in your case, it's your immune system totally confused. It's attacking your thyroid. It's attacking your adrenals. And by taking down that inflammation, you can prevent your body from bringing on another autoimmune condition, because we know that that's entirely possible, if not probable. And that's what we see in the majority of patients, especially those that aren't catching it and aren't doing the things and aren't working to take down their inflammation. We see a multitude of autoimmune, it's like a domino effect.
Absolutely. So, yeah. Well, not only have I learned more the last 2 years, but I've had the most progress the last couple of years. And it was really since I met Ken Swartz and I started taking C60. I wasn't expecting it all. I did find that I had much better energy levels, and chronic fatigue was always a problem for me. And it inhibited every area of my life. I can't tell you, but what happened was I got my energy back and my mental focus back. I started being able to work longer hours. My career started taking off. I felt a lot more like I was fully functioning as my 100% self again. And I hadn't felt that for, over 20 years. So it was a huge change. And so I think that, the unexpected benefits of C60 were something I just didn't understand at the time. But now looking back, it makes perfect sense. Oxidative stress causes inflammation. And if you have an antioxidant that's as powerful as C60 working to neutralize that oxidative stress, then it's such a much easier way to manage that inflammation. Because I've tried everything. I've tried drinking the bone broth every day, doing the healing the gut and all these different things. And while I did feel better, they never really addressed that fatigue or that just feeling of weakness and lack of stamina and endurance. Just never quite got over that. But when I started taking C60, saw a huge change, was able to start running again, which I hadn't done in years. So I feel much better, and I don't take my health for granted. So I know when I see a solution that really works, it's something I want to, shout on the rooftops and tell everyone about. So that's kind of my mission these days.
So we want to talk about, we're saying C60, carbon 60. I want to talk about what that is as a molecule. And yes, I have talked to Ken. Ken is the one who gets into the science weeds. So any of you who really want to geek out hard, that's the dude to talk to. Because when I'm talking to him, I'm like a deer in the headlights. Like, what? Can you repeat that again? So I'm going to leave it to you ladies for people to understand what exactly is C60. What is carbon 60?
I have been Ken's personal translator, so I know exactly what you mean. My job for the last few years has just been to bring it down to earth and like relatable facts that people can understand. But what it really comes down to is that this molecule, which Jess could hold up for you, you've got the buckyball there.
There it is.
It's got this really unique structure. And because of its cage-like structure, it's able to neutralize free radicals more efficiently than any other antioxidant that we know about. And it doesn't interfere with the signaling molecules of the body. So you don't have to worry about taking too much like you do with vitamin C or vitamin E. And it's perfectly safe. It doesn't stay in the body. It just goes out of the body. It just does its thing. It only interacts with really, really high energy oxidative radicals. So it doesn't interact with any of the radicals you need for your signaling processes and your functions of your body. So it's safe, and that's the beautiful thing about it. And then the other thing is you only need a tiny amount to have the positive effects. If it, let's say it's 200 times more powerful than vitamin C, we don't know that exact number, but they do theorize that it's several hundred times more powerful. Then, that would be a lot of orange juice you'd have to drink to get the power and potency of this particular antioxidant.
And we live in a culture of more is better, right? So even just for the listeners, I've had Jay Campbell on. Everybody knows about a SEER, and it's always GHKCU. That CU is a copper peptide. And even he says, don't use too much, right? More is not better. So you're saying the same thing. More is not better. A small amount can have powerful effects in the body. And this is something you're taking internal. It's not something you're putting on your body or your head or on your skin or anything like that. You're actually taking it internally. So what I'm hearing from you, Sierra, is that it's basically attacking the bad guys and leaving the good guys alone just to do their thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's characterized as a free radical sponge. So it works at the cellular level to lift the oxidative burden. And it basically helps improve mitochondrial efficiency. And it just creates an environment at the cellular level where your body can do what it's supposed to do and your body can heal itself naturally. So there's something really important to note here. C60 is not a drug, and it literally just operates as a free radical sponge, and it turns those free radicals back into water. So why haven't you heard about it? Like, why is it new? Where did it come from? It was theorized in the 1970s and by Buckminster Fuller, and the scientists who discovered it in the mid 80s won a Nobel Prize in the mid 90s for their discovery. So it's a relatively new discovery, and we are, we're on the leading edge here with health and science. And I know you've had Ken on. He is a biogeochemist, and he will break down the chemistry and get into that. But the really nice part about working in a team of women who aren't scientists, who do business, we enjoy talking about it kind of in layman's terms, little easier, digestible sound bites for people. And like Sierra said, she's been the co-host with Ken on another podcast, the C60 Show, for the last couple of years, and she really has been the translator of breaking down what does this deep science actually mean.
You're like, Sierra, you're like, that means it's going to improve your hair.
Yeah, exactly. What does it mean for me?
Yeah.
No, really.
Well, the one thing I want to point out too is that because it's working at the cellular level to lift the oxidative burden, it's supporting a healthy inflammatory response in the body. And inflammation shows up for everyone differently. Like we've all had different experiences with it. Ken's experience is different than mine, and mine is different than Sierra's. And so I don't want to make the claim or say that it will do this, in fact, for you, because it depends on how inflammation is affecting your body. For me, it was hair and nail growth. It was PMS symptoms. It was, related to allergies. And so that's how it's benefited me. We do get feedback from people that it supports those things, though. However, it's anecdotal. It's not guaranteed necessarily to happen for you that way. Everyone's having their own unique journey. And the thing that really helps support C60 and makes it powerful is if you incorporate it into a healthy routine. So people who have embraced that, they are actively seeking out healthy, nutritious food, organic when possible. They're staying hydrated. They're drinking clean water. They're getting regular exercise. They're getting sunlight. They're breathing fresh air. And they are doing their best to avoid toxic foods. And it's not like you can't enjoy a cocktail from time to time, but really you need to be on a, healthy lifestyle path in order for it to work well. It doesn't seem to work well with people who aren't on that journey. If you are looking for a quick fix or you want to pop a pill and you want to eat some fast food, you're not really a good match for it because it is expensive and it takes time. You didn't get sick overnight, and your inflammation and all of your chronic issues didn't pop up overnight. They were caused by a lifetime of habits and choices and environmental factors that we've all been exposed to. So it's been interesting to be witness to people on these individual journeys, and they are very individual, but people are having profound, wonderful experiences.
And yeah, if we can break this down, because I can say things that maybe you guys can't because of the company. But number one, whenever you start looking back in literature, and this, I have been verbal about it, it pisses me off that there are things out there like C60 that have been around since the 70s that we knew about in the 80s. A dude wins a Nobel Peace Prize in the 90s for it. And yet, because it's not a drug, it is hidden. Just like anything for your skin. Oh, Retin-A. Well, that's a prescription, kids. So you're not going to hear about anything that actually works that is not a drug. Same with C60. Okay, we have drugs for thyroid. We have drugs for cancer. We have drugs for depression. We have drugs for your hair. It's called propecia and minoxidil. We have drugs for everything. So something that's going to work, you're going to have to dig a little bit. And something that's actually going to work in conjunction with a healthy lifestyle, I am huge on that. I always say both and. I can't fix your thyroid with a medication and you still go out and eat gluten and go to McDonald's and drink 5 days a week because you need your wine. It's not going to work. We have to do the both and. So it only makes sense. I mean, it's good that you said it because some people out there really actually need to hear that, listen, this isn't going to work if you're eating like shit. It's better to just say it and get it out there, but it's true. You have to do this in conjunction with an entire lifestyle and dietary change. But if you do that, you get rewarded for it because It actually does work.
Yeah. And the thing is too, we wouldn't say take it in place of any other supplementation that you're doing, because like people in your program, you're going to say, hey, these other supplements work. The nice thing about C60 is it doesn't interfere with any other supplements. The only counterindication are blood thinners. Also, if you're pregnant or nursing, because we don't have any studies on that. So,
Sure. And you should still take your vitamin C, even if C60 is, more powerful. You still need vitamin C for certain functions in your body. So definitely nutrition is definitely not something to start ignoring. But what I want to add to what you just said, Amie, is that I know that these protocols work so well, and just changing your lifestyle and your dietary habits and implementing good nutrition and everything else is just so powerful. But I know that there are also some people that are doing everything right, and they're still coming up against a wall, and they're not actually able to get past. They may not ever actually be cured. They're just going to have to live with their condition, and they're going to have to do their best with the condition that they have. In this day and age, we're being bombarded with toxins beyond what we were ever being bombarded with, even 10 years ago. I mean, it's shifting, everything's shifting. And so it just seems to me that C60 has come along at the perfect time. That's why it's so important to tell everybody about it. And one thing I want to talk about real quick is because we've talked about what is C60, kind of overall what it does, but have we talked about how it affects the hormones or how it affects the thyroid in particular? Not so much yet. So I want to just dive into that for a second. I want to talk about what is the stress connection. We know that stress is a huge factor in autoimmune disease. And to manage your condition, you really need to manage stress. It's not something you can ignore. You can't go on living a high stress life and expect to be able to manage this and not have flare-ups and not crash, you know? And I'll tell you why. It's because when your body is under stress, it could be stress from external or internal toxins, but it can also be emotional stress, you know, mental stress, all of that. When it has stress, it has to kick up the production of the stress hormone, and via a process called steroidogenesis. Steroidogenesis creates massive oxidative stress in the body. So it makes perfect sense that as your stress increases, your inflammation is going to increase. Your risk for certain autoimmune conditions is going to increase. Your adrenal glands are getting it inflamed, and then they are going to, you know, they're either going to do burnout or you're going to have an extreme version of that, and they're going to get just completely poop out like mine did. So it's just that stress connection is so important. And that's where I think the key is with what C60 can do for people, because we're going to have stress in our life. There's really no avoiding that. We're going to have toxins in our environment. So what can we do to prevent the damage that stress causes? Obviously, avoiding that stress in the first place is number one, but number two, we've got to have some protection. So that's where the ultimate antioxidant comes in, C60 Purple Power.
That is beautifully said, because there's more toxins right now. There's more stress right now. I mean, you can't get away from it. I don't care who you are or where you live. So there is just this undercurrent of constant stress. And then you can layer on that if you're over exercising because you're trying to lose weight because you have a thyroid problem that's not being treated properly. So you over diet and you over exercise. That is a stress on your body. And in your case, Sierra, you were not producing cortisol at all. So your stress response was all messed up. And so where a lot of times we demonize cortisol as like, oh, it's the bad stress hormone. We still need it for survival, but we need it in proper balance. And you weren't producing any. Does C60 help with that? I mean, you probably still have to take hydrocortisone, but does C60 help you take less? Because we never want like too much hydrocortisone in the mix.
Yeah, actually, I'm on the lowest dose that my doctor has ever heard of anyone being on for, you know, my size, my age, everything else. And she's like, but if you feel fine, then that's fine, you know, because I know when I take too much, I feel I can't sleep as well, you know, just more, my mind's racing and I can't turn it off.
Yep.
So I've learned how to be, again, my own advocate and figure out for myself what works for me. And so, yes, I am on a very low dose of cortisol. And I'm also on a very low dose of thyroid medication because I just don't need as much. I can tell when I do need more and I will take more if I need it, but it's very rare that happens. Usually the symptom you would see is low blood pressure. I'm always checking it and it's not low and it's fine. And so I think I feel pretty good about where I'm at with the hormones. In fact, when I started taking C60 after a couple years, I went back to my doctor and she said, hey, you're on too much thyroid medication. And she lowered my thyroid dose by 2/3. So it'd be cool to see if I could actually get off it. But I don't know if that'll happen. We'll see.
Yeah, you know, with thyroid medication, I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of listeners too, not only do they wish to decrease the medication that they're on, some just don't even want to go on medication. They'll ask me, can we do this naturally? And as you know, with any autoimmune condition, if you're catching it, and this is what I say to them, if you're catching it in the beginning stages, if we're catching it in stage 1, 2, 3, then it's early enough that we can reduce that inflammation and we can literally bring your antibodies to zero. Because that's the ultimate goal with any autoimmune condition, is to get those antibodies at dead zero. And if you catch it early enough, can you avoid thyroid medication? Yes, it is possible. In some instances, like I can even speak for myself, not even speaking for you, Sierra, but in some instances, when you have been Hashimoto's for a long, long time, if you've been on thyroid medication for a long, long time, I think your goal should then be to decrease it, because at that point of time, you're probably far along in the game where you don't want to go without it. Thyroid medication is hormone replacement. So you don't want to take away that much needed hormone for your cells, but you can support your body in the process to where you do need a little bit less, because everything is functioning better. That inflammation isn't there. And real quick, with inflammation, I'll let you expand on this too, Jess. With inflammation, or Sierra, we're not talking about the red mark on your arm. We're not talking about your knee being like the size of a baseball because you just, blew your ACL. We're talking about a non-seeable, but yet feelable in some instances, systemic within the body inflammatory response. So can you guys expand on that?
Sure. I think that chronic inflammation is actually more damaging. I mean, obviously, a certain level of acute inflammation is important for the healing of the body. I mean, it's sending the white blood cells and everything that your body needs to heal itself, obviously. But when it's chronic, then you're never really in that state of balance where your body can relax and actually do what it's supposed to do and heal itself, because you're always in this kind of like inflammatory state where everything's kind of overreacting and over responding. So you're getting allergies, and you're becoming much more sensitive to foods and different things because your body's just not able to handle anything without having this kind of overreaction.
So one more point to add to that too is when you're in a state of, dealing with any kind of inflammation, whether it's acute or chronic, your dopamine is suppressed, and it's suppressed so you can rest. So your body can heal. It's on purpose. However, when you have chronic inflammation and your dopamine is suppressed, you don't have energy. We call it sometimes mojo. And so when you're utilizing C60 and it helps to lift that oxidative burden, and your body starts functioning normally again, the thing that most people report is they notice energy, they notice mental clarity, they notice focus. I describe it as, I kind of feel like to me, it feels like your synapses are firing appropriately. Like stress comes at you, information comes at you. And if you've had trauma too, when you get something that triggers you, that can also, send you into the fight or flight syndrome. Mm-hmm. And I describe it as, it feels like you just have more bandwidth. So when stuff comes at you, you're like, I got this. I know what to do next. Like you're thinking clearer, you can process information, and you also feel good. And so then when you feel good, you have the energy to go exercise. And then when you exercise, then you have more energy, and then you're sleeping better. Then you're like, you know what? I feel so good after that hike or that walk. I think I'm going to make a healthy meal. And then you do. And so all of that works together. So it's not just one thing. C60 is a nice tool to have in your arsenal of all of the other healthy choices and, supplements that you're taking, because it really supports the body at the cellular level. And by improving that mitochondrial function, you're doing such great things for your body, and you're going to notice it because your dopamine is going to balance itself back out.
I also think it makes you happier. I don't know if it's because it tends to support that mitochondria, like Jess said. And when your mitochondria are functioning, you're able to produce the happy hormones, and your gut cells are, you're able to enhance the production of gut cells and stem cells and everything else that affects all the tissues and organs of the body. But it really does seem to have this kind of global effect and just increasing the function of your body. So it does, I do notice, I don't know if you've been taking it, Amie, but I do notice, I feel like I'm in a better mood when I take my C60. So I love that.
Well, yeah, Jess gifted it to me during a time where I was very, very sick. So what I felt was pretty much within that first few days, I felt like I was in a better mood. Because when you're sick, you feel like I am never going to get better. Like, yeah. I don't even remember what normal feels like. I feel like ass right now. So when you're in that inflamed, because what is a cold, a virus? It's just inflammation in your body. Your cells are going crazy. They're, you know, your immune system is kicking out, they're trying to fight. So C60 is coming in and helping that out. So what I really felt was, number one, I felt almost like protection. I felt like, okay, this isn't going to get worse. I feel like protected. And then I felt that depression and brain fog kind of lift after a day that I thought was going to hang on forever. So it totally makes sense. And tying back to what Jess said about the dopamine, yes. I mean, whether you're talking about a cold or a flu, whether you're talking about Hashimoto's, you know, we see this low mood because everything is just bleh, just slowed down. Because you don't need to be happy when you're sick. And when your brain isn't getting enough thyroid hormone, you're not going to be happy at any time, like 24/7. Right. So by reducing that inflammation, by improving that brain function, you're right. It's a trickle effect. You feel better. You feel more bright and alert and mindful and energetic. And so you do want to go do the things. I mean, that makes you want to take care of yourself. That's how I see it. That's how I see it. So it sounds, and I think Jess, we might have even said this to you might have said this to me before, but it almost sounds too good to be true because it does so many things. But if you tie it back to the inflammatory response of the body and you tie every disease state to inflammation, it makes sense that it would improve hair and mood and thyroid function, and you can reduce your medication and inflammation and this and that. It just makes sense. And I know that there are some things that we can't say because we can't make a claim, right? In the supplement industry, we can't make claims. But if you just use your brain, people use your brain. If we're thinking this through of what does inflammation do in the body? What diseases does inflammation push and cause to say, hello, I'm here, you're screwed now. Think about it that way and then take down that inflammation by using something as simple as C60. And let me add on one more thing. I know I'm talking a lot right now, but let me add on one more thing. This occurred to me today. Jess, it was something that you sent me yesterday. And all these medications or what nature gave us that is so simple, you're not seeing that. It's not available for use. The FDA won't allow it, blah, blah, blah. All those simple things, guess what, folks? They work. Nature gave us shit because it actually works. When you start messing around in labs and making up stuff that here's a new drug that's $500 a month. No. Let's get back to nature. It's carbon 60.
Let's not overthink it. Exactly. I mean, we like to say that, you know, C60 doesn't cure anything. All it does is lift the oxidative burden so that your body can function like it's supposed to.
Yeah, right.
So the downstream effects of that are, of course, numerous.
Yeah. And Amie, you know, to your point, like what sits at the very foundation of all this? It's cellular health. Lifting the oxidative burden at the cellular level is what it does. And helping to improve mitochondrial efficiency. That's our, you know, where all of our energy comes from. I basically would describe it as kind of taking out the trash. You know, you're taking out the trash, that oxidative stress out of the cells, and then the body is doing what it's naturally supposed to do. And to your point, I think in this day and age, we have gotten so used to conveniences and we're so focused on instant gratification that it's like we've lost touch with what our grandparents taught us. And, you know, like you're sick, sleep, get hydrated, chicken noodle soup, you know, positive thoughts, turn off the fear porn on the TV and like get back to the basics, you know, take your vitamins, stay healthy, get fresh air, get exercise, that kind of stuff. And we really put a lot of faith in external organizations, external experts, and external quick fixes. And the reality is, to your point, Amie, that our bodies are magical and they are designed to heal themselves. And that's how we were created. And we don't need to take away our body's ability. We need to support our body's ability in order to heal itself and to have optimal health. We need to lean back into healthy lifestyle choices. And I think when we do that, everything in our life starts to shift. Our mood, to Sierra's point, you know, our ability to feel successful, our ability to have, you know, productive relationships and enjoy connecting with people. And I think we need to get back to the basics. I kind of want to turn back the clock and, you know, go back a few decades and reconnect with the truths that, quite frankly, many of us were raised with, but now just aren't talked about.
Very well
And
said.
yeah, back to the analogy with the tree. Allopathic medicine is always trying to treat the branches, and it's not going to work. We got to treat the roots. You know, we got to look at the basics, like you're saying, Jess. So I like that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I know I've used it with, I'll close with this and I'll let you guys, tell the listeners anything else you want them to know, but I have used it with patients. And again, this is anecdotal, but honestly, I think N=1 studies are the best because you get like those real stories of change. So I have used it with a few patients and definitely they have noticed improved hair. I mean, I've noticed improved hair. I've been talking recently on the podcast showing, back here. So I had COVID hair and it broke. It literally just broke off and it was like this short. My hairdresser was like, what the hell is this? Like, this is like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. So I started taking double dose. I give it to my dog and his dog food. And then I take it twice a day. And by God, I mean, I have grown probably like an inch and a half in a short amount of time, a month or two. And normally my hair does not grow. I mean,
Your hair is beautiful.
Oh, extensions, girl. I know my normal hair on my hair on top of my head. And even with extensions, your hair has to be strong. I mean, I couldn't put in extensions and expect them to stay in if my hair is just like breaking off because it's not even strong. So the core has to be strong to put extensions in. But then the hair that is overlaying the extension, just because I like length, that has to be healthy. And if it's, super short, what are you going to do? If it's breaking off, that's not good. If it looks like straw, that's not good. So my hair definitely has improved significantly. And like I said, I just felt better from day one taking it. And then I have heard reports from my patients that I gave it to who their biggest thing is hair. I get thyroid patients and they're like, I want to lose weight. And then I get the other group that they're like, no, my hair is killing me. Like that is what I look at and think about 24/7. I don't even care if I'm 10 pounds heavier. Get my hair back to life.
And my eyebrows. I want my eyebrows back.
Eyebrows. Yeah. Cause the outer corners go away. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So anecdotally, I have seen tremendous results. So I thank you guys for coming on, and we are going to put a link and a discount code in the show notes for everyone to go out and try C60 Purple Power. But what else what do you want to leave the listeners with?
Look specifically for utilize Amie's link. So then that way you guys can get a discount, but not all C60 brands are created equal. We use 100% certified organic healthy oils. If anybody is selling C60 in a non-healthy oil, seed oils, you do not want to do that because seed oils cause inflammation. So we utilize organic MCT coconut oil, organic avocado oil, and organic extra virgin olive oil. And we manufacture it in a lab using a process called sublimation. So we have 99.99% pure carbon 60, and it's never exposed to solvents. Most of the companies out there use an oven bake method where they're using solvents to manufacture it, including toluene, which is really toxic and not healthy. So anyway, do your homework and do your research. We also have a YouTube channel. It's just the name C60 Purple Power. Check out other information about carbon 60 and various other health and wellness topics as well. So check us out there. Sierra, what about you?
Oh, I just wanted to say, if any of your listeners do try C60 and they have any experiences that they want to share with us, we love to tap into the community out there of people that are trying it and giving it to their dogs and their friends and everything else. So please let us know what your experience is with C60. You can always visit our website. We have a place where you can submit testimonials on our testimonials page. It's in one of the drop-down menus, but we'd love to hear from you and get to know you for sure. But definitely check out our YouTube channel because that's where you can learn a lot more.
And one last thing I'll say, and we'll link to the YouTube channel as well too, but and I have said this for 20 years, whenever you have a company like yourselves, like C60 Purple Power, where you can submit a testimonial and you actually care. We have you guys coming on to talk about it, Ken coming on to talk about it. You are the core foundation of the company. You're not some mega corporation where, you have some random spokesperson out there doing all the appearance. You are there. You are in the trenches. You are doing it all for the company. And I think that entrepreneur small business mindset, I mean, even though you guys are big, it's still that small business mindset. That is who you want to buy from, because you know that the quality is going to be good, because that quality is your name. And if it has solvents in it that are toxic, if it's, mixed with oils that are just going to create more inflammation, that comes back to you. That comes back to Ken. That comes back to your name as a company. So I think that's very important for the listeners to know. Everyone knows I hate when you purchase stuff on Amazon. You never purchase stuff on Amazon. You purchase right from the company. You purchase from links. You purchase from affiliate links. But I think even looking deeper and seeing this is a company that's owned by real people that you can see and talk to. And I think that's very important.
Definitely. We care about the results that our customers have. And we've founded the company on basically helping our friends and family with the product, and just word of mouth is what's really grown it. So if it didn't work, we wouldn't be where we are at today.
Like you, Amie, we're on a mission to help people take back control over their health. And, it's something that we can all really lean into. It makes a lot of sense, and it's a timely mission. And I'm glad that we're aligned with you on that as well.
Oh yeah. And I don't bring products to my listeners unless I've tried them and I love them and I know that there's science backing them and that they actually work. So, all right, ladies, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for your time today.